to ask.
Looked over the 2014 master drainage plan. It's very, very comprehensive, very thorough. But I'm assuming that's the plan that costs too much money, right?
Go girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do it all, for
Yeah.
sure. Michael, how's it going? Go with the good piecing out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's much more expensive. Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah. Should be short, right?
Okay.
Put that on the calendar, or else I'll forget. Is that an all-day thing, or is that
Which one?
the fall meeting, or is that?
No,
like
it's
just
like
that
one of those evening dinner
okay.
things, yeah. Yeah, what does it say?
Oh, yeah.
Including around 7:30. Or does that, okay. What else do I have that day? I feel like I have something that day. Maybe it's the next day. No, I don't know. I better check my schedule.
Figure out where. Is Lori coming?
Lori is on Zoom.
Time to be early.
Hey, Lori, can you hear us?
Okay, Lori, can you try talking now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, okay, now we can.
Perfect.
All right, you ready? Everybody ready? All right, I would like to call this meeting to order, dated August 2nd, 2022. The time is now 6:30. Roll call.
Trustee Off.
Here.
Trustee Dallison. Here. Trustee Harts.
Here.
Trustee Luke.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee Cesaro.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
All present.
All right, would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like the echo.
Yeah.
All right, does the board have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to general public input. Prior to going into that, there was a email from Kat Katsos, and Nicole, do you want to update the board on that email?
Pull it up so I can remember. Yeah, so she had mentioned an article in the Herald and wanted us to send this email to you about the need for a water element in our comp plan and land use code, to be proactive. And, the letter has been attached to the packet, and staff did respond to her. And we just wanted to point out that the current comp plan does have a water element, section 4.8, but it may need some updating, but this is the point of the comp plan update process. We want to go through and make sure the comprehensive plan is what we need it to be. And so, when I said that, to update portions of the plan that are either outdated or need additional information and modification, we will definitely have a water discussion with the working group with potential recommendations for the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission to consider.
All right, thank you. All right. Public input. Would anybody like to address the board? You know the drill.
I'm mute still. Phyllis Lindsay, 9205 Center of Fact 21. I would just like to thank Katie and the town for getting us a coordinator at long last. I think she's going to work out real well. The people there today just really liked her, and she knew what she was doing. So I commend the town and Katie for getting hopefully the right person, and hopefully she will stay. Thank you.
Good news.
Thanks, awesome.
Oh. Lori, you want to go? What you got, Lori?
No, I'm sorry, this is what happens when you're not there. I just wanted to comment on what Nicole was saying about the letter from Kat Katzos, because I read that too, and I wanted to mention that I know Nicole is working on, there have been some updates to state statutes and that need to be reflected in HOA covenants that allow for more zero-scaping and more of the uses of your yard and whatnot that Kat was sharing with that article. So I know that town staff is doing some work in other areas as well to kind of double tackle that, what was in that article. So thank you, staff.
Okay, Brian,
Okay.
you're up.
Okay, so good evening, Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. Just a quick comment on the little park on Highway 160 there where all the kids go in the stream and all of that. I know we have a new Parks and Rec director. I think it's appropriate to kind of clean that up a little bit, kind of trim back, maybe even a little fencing to find that as a park. Just a thought, I drive by it twice a day, every day, and it just looks like it's ready for the next level of upgrade. And it's kind of a gateway to coming into town. So I think some split rail fencing or just cutting all that shrubbery back too would really help the appearance and all that of the little park. So that's my comment for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, we will move on. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, removing action item 5A, the old middle school gym lease.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Ock.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes,
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the July 19th, 2022 minutes?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 19th, 2022 minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? We lost the TV again. Roll call, we'll try to catch Lori on there.
Trustee Ock.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, we have our, Ryan is on vacation, but there is a Parks and Rec report in your packet. And I think if we have any questions, you can email me and I can hit him up, or Katie as well. All right, moving on to financial disbursements. Did everybody get a chance to look at the July 2022 disbursements?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the July 2022 disbursements.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes,
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All
All in favor.
right, moving on to our town annual memberships. Katie?
Yeah, so I gave you a list, it's on page 23 of the packet. There we have a membership, Colorado Municipal League. This is the 2023 dues. Downtown Colorado Incorporated is still going to be $350. And then Region 9, which is now combined with the Southwest COG and the TPR, is now going to be $5,013. And prior to that, you'll see you can add those up, is almost $10,000. So, hopefully this is being efficient use of taxpayer dollars across the region, combining those two organizations. And then our partnerships, La Plata Youth Services, they typically come to court as juvenile services, and they do a lot of interviews here. In the past that they've had an office, I've offered them to open up the office for them, and I have yet to see them up there in the last 2.5 years. So I'm going to assume that the conference room here will probably work for any type of physical office or physical desk that they would need, going into the future. So if they ask for an office in the admin town hall, I would just say that, if for some reason they need something, that's fine. But I think this conference room here works very well for that. The Roadrunner is basically Southwest Colorado Action Agency. I'm sorry, they're still getting all these acronyms down. And they have $12,000 that they asked for last year. In fact, I just got the invoice today. I coded that one for payment. So I'm assuming it's going to be close to that, but I don't have an update. They will be doing a presentation for the Board of Trustees either on the 16th or the first meeting in September. I think it's really important. And I've told them that. I said, that's what we wanted last year, and they did do a presentation, but we'd like to do it before we actually start approving these amounts.
I have a feeling they're going to hit us up for more, but I think they're going to have a really good presentation to back it, so.
I think that's good. I think they're doing a lot of different things, and I got an email about all the things they're doing. I said, you need to bring that to the board. This is a presentation model and not for me I don't make these decisions. Southwest Mental Health Access, our partnership with them, basically if we have a concern that we do need the marshal's office would bring somebody, assistance from that agency, we feel that's fair share. I don't know if that's going to increase or not. And the Alliance, as far as I know, Mayor Tarkington is on that, attends those meetings. I don't know if they're going to change that. Okay, so we'll know if that changes at all. Homes Fund, I guess I forgot the S in there, but it's a contract, and that actually expires at the end of this year, and they're going to have a conversation with Nicole in 2 weeks regarding next steps as far as Cinnamon Heights and some of the other things that they're doing. Currently, right now with this contract, they do income analysis for Fox Farm. So they're doing that, and that's what we are paying them for, that $9,000. And I think they're building another duplex up there, so the second one this year should be done up there. I don't know if they have another lot up there, but even sales and new buyers, they would still do an income analysis. So the next ones are nonprofits, and they start asking for money about this time of the year. Of course, then January they asked, actually to be paid for this. The high school wanted money to send kids because they were having issues with they can't just sleep on the gym floor anymore because of COVID, and there's some other issues about distancing. Now they have not asked for the money to date. So I'd kind of like to go about this a different direction and just say there's $10,000, and I don't want them to ask for it now. You wait till you have a project in 2023, and then you come to the board and you ask for one of these grants. When these grants are gone, they're gone. So I have two $1,500, three $1,000, four $500, four $250, and then 10 $100 each for any school program or a student program grant that they may request. Except for the $100 they could come to the town manager and I could approve those, and when they're gone, they're gone. The others would be coming to the board and asking for a grant amount and asking it to do something specific. So so the town of Bayfield is acknowledged for that contribution and not just money in their bank
Coffers,
account
yeah.
by January, and we have no idea really what it benefits. So it would be basically $10,000 in these increments and for a specific project. And if you feel that the project at the time, you don't feel that you're committed to, then, you don't have to approve every one that comes to you. And I don't have to approve every $100 request either. I mean, if I feel that it's significant to the student and to maybe, contributing to their next steps, I think that's important, but not for every request.
I did have a question, Katie. Should the RHA be on this list somewhere?
The RHA probably should be on the list. We're actually paying for our support into that. And so that's a really good point. I'll add that, RHA, because I know what that amount is going to be at this point.
Any other questions or?
Are the nonprofit grants in lieu of what we're doing for like Pine River Shares, Community Connections, all those?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
I like this
That
idea.
kind of
Yeah, I like
solves
I really like
the
this
dilemma
idea.
we always get ourselves into for this, but.
And I like the fact that like it should be for something. It shouldn't just be like we're just putting it in their account. I really like that one as well. I mean, I feel like if they're going to come to us for money, there should be a purpose
Yep.
behind it, not just we're trying to keep their business running.
Right.
All good? Lori, you good?
I like it.
All right, we will move on to our.
I concur with the group, I like it.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on to our discussion portion of the evening. Do we have any members of the public that would like to discuss any items in 4A through D? We'll just move on to our stormwater management enterprise versus ballot.
So I've seen a couple of the ordinances creating an enterprise for stormwater. This one just seemed to be the most succinct and without giving you a whole bunch of pages of things that may be all similar. I thought I would just use the town of Lyons. They're a town not too different in size than a town of Bayfield. And so the goal of the town would be, I mean, you have a goal basically to manage stormwater. So we could bring a ballot initiative to the voters of Bayfield, or you can create an enterprise district. This one basically sets out $10 a month per customer in this one. I've spoke to a couple others. I had $25 a month. I had $36 a month.
Wow.
There was a different amount for residential versus commercial, some other things, but I thought that this ordinance was kind of clear exactly what that means. So in the process of creating another enterprise, it would be something that would be on the bill. And of course, the thing that I always remember, and it still happens today, is why is my water bill going up? Well, in this case, we have sewer, garbage, water, and now we're going to have storm water on there. So we're going to have those, 4 components of the billing that go out to your customers. And I think that before we go to either one direction or another, there's a lot of discussions with the town attorney, a lot of discussions with basically Tabor experts, a lot of people that have been through this to determine really which direction we would go. I've been leaning towards this direction for a while, but it's going to be an increase to everybody's bill. one way or another. And the goal is to take care of stormwater. I'd kind of like your feedback. I know that we've been talking about stormwater. It's real easy to talk about it. We've had the last couple storms here since June 26th, but I'd kind of like to have your feedback.
Well, I think for myself, I don't ever like to increase anybody's bills for their home, but in the same breath, you know, it's this fine line where we have to also make sure that our community is taken care of. And in all honesty, I mean, the stormwater is an issue. It's a huge issue all over the place. I'm experiencing it myself. I've seen other people, and I know other people who are experiencing it. And it's, you know, to me, that's definitely something we have to take care of. And if we don't have the wherewithal to take care of it under the budget we currently have, then we have to have a solution to that. Unfortunately, going to our community and asking for more money is the solution. I do like the thought of an enterprise zone more than I do raising taxes as well, so.
Is it counterproductive and a complete waste of time to put it out to the voters, and if that doesn't go through, then we?
So this is I went out to my colleagues and they said, do you really want to go to the ballot, get it fails, and then go
And
basically
have to
go
assess
to
it
an
anyway?
enterprise? And I'm going to be very transparent that you probably don't want to do that. You may be challenged. I mean, there is a chance that somebody says, hey, this is a tax and this is not an actual fee for stormwater. So however we go about it, this may be a simple ordinance, but we need to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row.
I'm actually leaning toward putting it for a vote. I just think if we're going to raise people's rates, that they ought to have a say in that.
And then
It's
what?
their money.
I agree on a certain level, but if there's a necessity, like I feel like this borderline is a necessity type thing, you know what I mean? Like it's not something where we're just coming out of thin air and saying, you know, we want to put a bronze statue in our you know, in our park or something like that, and we need money, and so we're going to raise your bill to do something like this. I mean, it's something that is going to affect all of our community, and I don't know, with global warming and how nature is being these days, we just don't know what we're going to be looking at in the future. And I feel like we're very unprepared at the moment, and so we have to be prepared in the future. Asking them to, you know, your point there, asking them and then turning around and doing it anyways it's not transparent. You're basically doing it anyways, whether they want to or not.
Well, and yeah, I looked at the master drainage plan from 2014, and I agree. I think it maybe should be brought to a vote because I know a lot of people aren't affected by it, and it was a 200 to 500 year flooding event that we had on June 26th. So it was one of those where, yeah, maybe a dozen or more people got affected by it. But looking at all the numbers on the report and looking at the floodplains for town of Bayfield, it was a freak flood. And is it going to happen again? Probably. We've been getting a lot of monsoons lately, so we definitely need to move forward with something. And I think the voters should be able to decide whether or not they have to pay more money for, you know, taxes for stormwater, and it probably will fail because a lot of people probably aren't affected by it. But then we need to figure out what we're going to do from there. I think the people should have a say though first.
But if it does fail, that's where we get into the issue of then we
Right.
got to start pulling money from our other essential resources, and that's a little scary.
Or
as well.
you make sure that these HOAs we're making them compliant. So in other words, you know, we turn around and make sure there's some compliance about stormwater management, and it's no longer, wait till it happens, or we just dug up Sunrise's detention area to find and I'm not expert at all, I saw pictures, but basically, you know, somebody's got to be responsible for that stormwater. So as an HOA, we're going to come back to you and say, take care of it.
Which that, overseeing that costs money too. I mean,
And this going to the voters reminds me a lot of our 1 cent sales tax, because that was voted down twice before it eventually did get voted through. And I mean, we were really fortunate to have it go through at the time that we did, because the roads were very deteriorating. The bridges had to be replaced. I mean, we could have literally just lost both of the bridges, shut it down. The Mountain View culvert, I mean, we wouldn't have had money for any of that if that 1 cent sales tax didn't go through, and it took 3 tries to get it through. So-
and while we think that it may not affect us because we don't live in that neighborhood, well, if that neighborhood is dilapidated because they have flooding in that neighborhood, and so then you don't have as many people there, and then the type of people you do get to live there tend to be, maybe not as caring about their neighborhoods, you actually will create an economic decline in our town, because now we have multiple neighborhoods where we have issues with water and people don't want to live here. So while you kind of think, well, it doesn't directly affect me, it does in the long run economically, and it can affect you.
And we've also, I mean, where are we on kind of recognizing and defining all of those areas that are the town's responsibility? I mean, we're moving forward on that.
Yeah, we're meeting as a staff tomorrow. The newer subdivisions are a lot easier to find records on. But like Mesa, which had some flooding issues, that's a plat. There's not a lot of records, so it's, if I don't see a dedication to the town of stormwater, it's really hard to say it's the town's stormwater responsibility. And if they don't have an HOA, then it becomes every property owner's responsibility. So there's gonna be some of those in the community that we're gonna see, because we don't have the records. They never were created, or it was never specified during, the 50s, 60s, 70s. The newer ones are a little bit easier. Sunrise, we're still doing some research on, but there were some things that happened with stormwater between the city and HOA, so we're trying to piece all that together. But like Mesa Meadows, Clover Meadows, they're a lot easier and clearer on if there's any responsibility of the town. But yeah, we have so many old subdivisions, and even Jeremy's pointed out, we have a lot of detention basins north of town on private properties and the original subdivisions that we just don't have information on, nor have they probably been maintained over time.
And there's some cost associated with getting the issue on the ballot as well. We have to think about those costs. So,
And I will say, just, it's one thing, it's something to think about is, do we want to keep putting stormwater on HOAs? Or does the town want to look at taking it all on, even the stuff that may be on HOAs, this would possibly take that and move it into town responsibility. And so that's something you should ways you're thinking about, this is where should it really belong? And for the future as well. Future subdivisions.
Someone has a question.
Actually, can I say something?
'cause since you were, yeah, I'll let you go ahead and step up.
Sorry.
It's okay, we're in discussion.
Okay, Lucy Stewart, I live at 128 North Angeles in Bayfield. I've been there since 77. This is the third time. I know none of the people in my subdivision came down when that meeting happened here, but our neighbor on the very end, he had 3 feet in his basement. This is the third time since 77 that we've had that flooding. And one of the times was because the ditch, which is now underground in that culvert, it flooded out. It had too much debris, and so it flooded out and came in. We flooded out too, but we had the sump pumps. We have had sump pumps in our houses since, I'm sure we moved into those houses. And I think a lot of it is the fact that nobody, like in our area, doesn't have nowhere to go. It's to the end of the street by 160B, and it has nowhere to go. It just sits there. And that's the house that really got flooded out. Some of the other ones got flooded out, but it's just, to me anymore, it's part of living in a poor design subdivision. And, I don't think that this increasing our water bill and all that stuff is not the way to go. I think that when all this stuff is done, it should be taken care of and done correctly. And something that should have probably been addressed when Bayfield started putting these subdivisions in. But, you know, like I say, it's only the third time since I've lived here since '77 that our subdivision, which is Bay Estates, has been flooded out. And when we got flooded out, good. You know, like everybody else, and of course that flows on down to Mesa, so. You know, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. It's just that we've always had some pumps, and that's how we kept our houses on the bottom dry, so. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I mean, I don't know that we have the answer or any,
I know, I feel
any
like,
kind of,
I wish we had
Yeah.
a lot more public, comment regarding what,
Well, maybe what we
People
should do is
would
have like an open public
yeah, like a.
thing before we
Work
do
session.
anything.
Meeting,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for just this. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think it is also, you know, a big discussion on, like Nicole said, whether or not we take it all on, and then that makes, you know, way more sense to have that enterprise fund
mm-hmm.
than if we don't, and you're putting it on to the, you know, HOAs and
Right.
everything like that. There's just so many different ways to go about it.
I think, yeah, I think we can get a temperature of the, kind of the feeling.
But we also need to know what our responsibility so far is.
And it might be helpful to bring the private, you know, you talked about there's some private land that has issues, maybe some costs associated with that to educate people too.
Right.
Because either way, it's not a win-win situation either way, but it has to be addressed either way. And what is going to be the implication if it goes on the ballot and the ballot fails, and then you have all these homeowners that didn't vote for it that have to put their own money into it without knowing that ahead of time?
And maybe there's some, you know, solution as far as to what we can do to help. If it is like their responsibility and they have to come up with money to fix something, but they don't really have the money to do that, maybe there's some sort of solution, you know, where we could find some grants that, you know, allow people to, you know, do those kind of repairs or something along those lines. I don't know. But maybe there's something
So
we can do to help
whether
them
you-
pay for it.
Whether you raise a fee or whether you raise a tax, the HOAs are eventually going to have to turn around back to their homeowners and raise it.
Right.
In the cases where there is an HOA. If there's not an HOA, and let's just be very clear about Dove Ranch, we're looking at spending a lot of money for that stormwater detention area. You know, who do we go back to? Do we go back to all the homeowners that are in that subdivision and ask for their contribution to pay for that? So, you know, those are all, I mean, I know this is a complex issue, but I think that there's got to be some discussion about these two directions we go to have it funded. And if not, you know, compliance and enforcement may not be popular either. I mean, you know, when we give them a ticket or bring them into court, well, it's just a little bit of stormwater, and you brought me into court to see the judge. You know, those are the next steps.
What is the cutoff to get it on the ballot?
You're not going to make it in 20.
Okay, so
2020.
we have
Yeah. But
time for
it-
really good
figure it out,
discussion. Okay.
But there's going to be a time where the leaves fall and the snow falls, and then you're going to, you know, it's going to be forgotten. And it just looks like that has been an issue in the past. I did know that we did have a freak storm, but we got another one Saturday night. Washed out everything again, so. I'm sorry, Lori.
I think it was Kat.
May I speak?
Kat, go ahead, and then we're gonna move on, because we have a lot of time. We're gonna find some time for public input on this down the road,
I
but.
think Lori would like to speak to you.
So that's a no?
No, you, go ahead, just,
No, that's okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear, I'm sorry. Cat Castle, 525 Red Ranch Road. I think that there's a more global, better way to look at that stormwater issue.
And again, I realize this is all money driven, but number one, how can we collect stormwater and use it and recycle it for drinking water or irrigation water? Instead of just repairing, is there additional expanded vision to that might be worth consideration, at least just consideration? And Jeremy might be able to weigh in on ideas about that. So I would also defer to Jeremy on thoughts with that. I think that a good way to get people on board with raised utility rates, water rates, would be to have very good education. It would be to identify the top priorities that we're going to address and the total cost, and set a time limit. So your water bill isn't going to go up forever, but it's going to go up for a period of time until we get these major projects out of the way. And so, if they understand, you can pay me now or you can pay me later, kick the can down the road. This is why we get, subdivision agreements. We get the money up front that goes into escrow. We hold that and verify that in fact these ponds are the correct size, that the culverts are the correct size. If all of this would have been done appropriately in the past and hadn't been, passed off, these wouldn't be issues to the town right now. So we can either fix it now or let it deteriorate and fix it later. But I think if people understand the timeline and the cost up front and how it's going to impact them over time, because it's either going to be them through the HOA as individuals, but somebody's going to pay for this down the road. And, if our road systems completely deteriorate because of the water issue, that's going to be down the road. So we have to explain it very well to them. We have to give them a timeline. We set a fee. We set goals. We explain what we're going to do. And even if it's like, hey, we're going to do 2 or 3 major projects initially, we'll pay those off. We'll prove that we've accomplished the work that we're going to do. And then, let the town see the impact of improvement. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, thanks, Kat. Lori, did you have something in the chat?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know you said you wanted to move on, so I just posted in there. I was saying, maybe we could get some public input on a survey on our website about stormwater. I know that we were saying people might not like about initiatives, some people might. Maybe if we had some education on our site and then had people kind of check yes or no, we could get a little bit of a pulse on, what the opinion is on this being addressed.
Agreed.
Good idea.
When's the earliest it can go on the ballot?
April.
Well, you would
Not
have
this
to
year.
adopt a ordinance in July, and of course, we're past July for 2022, so you're going to have to wait until 2023. It is a Tabor issue, and I'm pretty sure the odd numbered years, you can put a Tabor issue on the ballot. But I'm just going to say that we're not going to be able to do it in 2022.
Okay. We'll revisit this, I'm sure, 50 more times before then, but. We'll move on to our development impacts to water storage. Is that you, Jeremy?
Yeah, that's me. Good evening. If you recall, when all this development came, we started with these large projects. There's been a lot of discussion in regards to water. What we really just studied here is taking a look at the town's potable water storage, so our water tanks. We had Plumber and Associates go ahead, I think it's page 34 of your packet, there's a good map on there that shows locations of the water tanks, potential build-out developments, and equivalent units is what that EU section is. So Plumber and Associates went ahead and took all those developments together, put a projected impact on our storage capacity, and put together this draft report that you have in front of you today. So I don't want to go through and read it word by word, but just to kind of sum up and go through the portions, if you look at this introduction, choose the pumping capacity. So that's basically addressing our ability to convey raw water to the water treatment facility and to be able to move treated water from the mid-storage tanks up to the upper tanks. And so to make that long story short, our pumping capacity is in good shape. One point that they do make in here that a lot of times I think that we omit when we're looking at our town is we do make water for La Plata Archuleta Water District that serves the county. And so in here, they're saying that potential build out, that's complete capacity, Bayfield East, you could be looking at installing an additional filter, which the new water treatment plant is set up for. So that could come to fruition. The Highlands tank, basically have a booster station that's at the middle level tanks. That could use some pump replacement and potentially some three-phase power. Right now we're using a rotophase, which isn't the most efficient way to run those pumps. So that's a project you can see coming up. And then the Tamarack Drive site, they're talking about 1 day of storage, CDPHE requirement for the entire town. The town of Bayfield has informally adopted 2 days of storage. With the addition and build out of all the developments, which I'm not sure what that time frame would be, that it notes in here. You'd be looking at additional storage tanks for the middle level tank, storage expansion for the upper level tanks, which those numbers are spelled out within the report, and potentially upsizing the water treatment facility. Now, it doesn't really go into what that development timeline is. Is that going to be 5 years? Could be 10? Could it be 15? I don't know what those are. But there's some useful information in here, and that's one of the things that we really wanted to try and get in front of, working with Nicole and Katie with these larger developments, making sure we're either getting land allocated for future storage tank installation, or making sure we're setting ourselves up for the future. That's kind of all I got. I can answer any questions if you guys have any questions. I know water's been a hot topic with all the building and development.
Does the board have any questions or comments or?
I guess I do have a question about the stormwater treatment. Does the wastewater facility have the capability to be able to divert stormwater to it and treat it to make it, I guess, not potable, but it'd be non-potable to go back into the Pine River? Is there anything in place that could make that happen in 5 years, 10 years?
Without expansion, and you talk about added basins, Bayfield does not currently treat stormwater.
Right.
It's run through, and it basically runs back down into the river through town. There are some detention basins that are supposed to hold it, but we don't treat stormwater. The treatment plant can go into storm mode, which we saw that on the 26th.
Okay.
We saw some of those inflows go way up, and so it'll change, it'll decant, and it'll speed up the process. So instead of being a 4-hour cycle, it'll go to a 2-hour cycle, or what that is, depending on the flows, and it'll decant more often. But that's basically just for that storm event, and then it'll go back to normal operation.
Gotcha.
And back to stormwater, Public Works has been spending probably 70% of its time over the last, since the 26th, on stormwater specifically. We've had a lot of calls from the public, answered a lot of service requests. We had the guys with shovels trying to open up some of these detention ponds or treatment facilities so they'll operate appropriately, at least to get us through some of the dry up and then determine ownership and actual repair. Some of the detention basins that have failed are required engineering. It's not something we can go in there, put a jumping jack on, smash the dirt down, and so just so you're aware. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So just so you're aware, this is a draft version of this document. Unless you see any major changes, we'd probably just adopt it with a resolution at your next meeting. So, if the public still could have a chance to review this, if there's any issues that we've left out, just make sure the resolution just says we've adopted this document. And of course, we pay the engineer and go on and make sure that we're paying attention to this.
Okay. All right, we will move on to our emergency operations plan draft. Sorry, I'm going to get there.
So this has been in the works for a while. Trustee Zazzaro has been reviewing, and I think even the department directors have been reviewing emergency operations plan. It appears to be very clear that the county, under state statute, is required to provide emergency operation services. At a town that's less than 3,000 is not necessarily required to have their own emergency operations plan or services, I should say. However, I do think it's important to make sure that department directors have some responsibility when we are working with La Plata County. So this draft emergency operations plans kind of goes a different direction. Basically, what it does is identify La Plata counties that was just adopted the 22nd of December 2021, and there is a link in this document to the actual basic document. And then it goes through some coordination and implementation. And when we really get into the meat of the document, it basically identifies, those individuals that would have some responsibility to coordinate with La Plata County. And at the very end, or towards one of the ends of this document, it actually has the links to all the annexes from La Plata County. I think that this gives us some general responsibility and accountability regarding emergencies versus just, putting our hands up saying, well, somebody else is going to deal with that, or the fire department's going to deal with that. I think it basically puts us in a position that we need to be better informed, better coordinated, and then accountable when things do happen. So we're not going, what do you mean they're evacuating Mesa Meadows to the senior center? I mean, there's some things that have happened that we were kind of like going, what's going on here? Anyway, I'd like to go a different direction. I certainly would like to hear from Trustee Zazzaro regarding her input on this direction.
Yeah, I have reviewed the plan, and I've had several passes at the La Plata County EOP as it pertains to what I do in public health. And I think that this is a really smart way to go. We should be utilizing the county and all of the services and staff that they have to offer to support us as a municipality within their county. In the original draft, there was a lot of references to work that I know that we could be delegating to county departments. So I 100% support how Katie has rewritten this plan. I think that it is going to be something that we're making forward progress on this, and it's something that we can use. I don't know if everyone on all the trustees have had a chance to review it. I know it's not in everyone's wheelhouse for emergency operations planning, but one of the most important things about having a plan is then doing the training and exercise on how to use that plan too. So it's ensuring that all of the staff understand their roles. They're very well defined under the different departments and divisions in the town as to who is doing what, and it's very clearly defined. Some of the positions that we don't have that our town manager would point in those situations, and there's always the opportunity to, appoint some of the county staff who can help, who have experience and training in some of those areas. There's also a lot of training available to our town staff who may be filling like the position of a public information officer, so they know how to be best prepared in that situation. So I really can get behind this. It makes a lot of sense to me. We're a small municipality. There's some continuity of government operations that we as a town would need to continue, but we have partners that can support us in every other way if the incident exceeds our capacity to respond. So I think this is great. I definitely recommend everyone give it a read if you did not already do that from when you get the packet. But it's really great information.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you, Lori. Did the board get a chance to read the executive management and policies section that pertains to the board. Because I know we're gonna we'll move this through to the leadership team tomorrow. But I think if you're good with moving forward, we'll.
Yeah, yeah, there's, and that's page 48, and so, yeah, there is some responsibility, as you as a board of trustees, too. I mean, it's not just the directors. However, I think if you're okay with this direction versus making our own, we'll spend some time with department directors on top of doing budget and everything else. Probably in the 1st of September, we'll be able to adopt this and bring this back to you per resolution. Cleaned up a little bit, but yeah.
No, good stuff.
Katie, can I ask one question on the plan? Did we identify through our meetings in the plan how we would get out that, like, public information and warning if, like, again, like when we have to evacuate a neighborhood, or if we need people to be preparing for a crazy monsoon or something like that? Because I know the county has the code red, but I wasn't sure. I know we've used reverse 911, but is it identified in the plan how we would connect with town residents?
So I think it'd have to be a coordination project with La Plata County, basically setting up a certain amount of procedures that we would like to see done and with them versus them just guessing at what may need to be done, like the last time we had a gas break, natural gas break, and some things like that. I think that if this plan I think needs to be sent to La Plata County emergency operations, just to have them review it as well, and then ask for that coordination, actual actions and activities that would make sure that we're actually implementing this and it's just not another resolution sitting on a shelf.
Thank you.
Okay. We're good. We'll move on to CML Fall District Meeting on September 28th. Does anybody have interest in attending?
I might, but I have to look at my schedule.
Okay.
I don't have it.
So I have Kristen. It is paid by the town, just so you know. You're going to have a couple other opportunities to sign up, but you kind of hear what's going on in municipal, the legislature and things like that. So, especially all the grants coming down the road. Probably.
Yeah, I should be good to go that night.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm interested. September 28th doesn't ring a bell as far as plans for me, so I'm interested in going.
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
So Kristen, Ashley, Eli, Alexis, and then Brenna.
I just gotta check one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm a tentative too.
Okay.
Lori, do you have interest? It's
Yes, actually I do. I would like to go.
Look at that.
It'd be cool to have our whole board there, right?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our action agenda. Do we have any public input pertaining to our one item, the academy agreement for our deputy candidate?
Middle school.
Seeing none, we'll move on to that item.
Okay, let me get there.
We removed it. Yes.
So our candidate is a state resident, so that means that the tuition of $12,110.15 is a tuition versus that $24,000 ticket. And what we're asking for tonight is approval by the board for that amount of tuition, and the equipment's around $4,000, so that pays for, and I'm sorry, I'm not a law enforcement, I don't know if it's uniforms or ammunition or whatever it may be.
Yeah, all that.
Okay.
I mean, this is what
It was-
we've agreed on in the past is the same.
You agreed on the
yeah.
past, it's not in the budget, so you just need to be aware that we did not budget for tuition for a candidate. However, I think one of your goals is to make sure that we have 24/7 coverage in the marshal's office, and this will at least get somebody in the academy. Of course, then they have to go through FTO or post-certified and then FTO, so they still have to, there's still some responsibility on their part to get through this.
And then will they also be signing an agreement to stay with the?
That's correct, and
Bayfield
that's
Marshal's
actually
office?
in this
Okay.
agreement, that there's a 3-year responsibility to stay, or they
just have
pay
those.
back, if they're here for only 1 year, they pay back the, 2/3. If they are here for 2 years, then they pay back 1/3, and kind of that's the way it would operate. If they make it for 3 years, then they've complied with their obligation.
What I will say is that that really helps for retention when you have an agreement like that. And I know that it's easy to job hop in today's world of employment, not necessarily just in the marshal's office, but in general. Especially, I do know that a lot of the law enforcement in the area, they've been hurting at times to fill their slots as well. So, taking somebody away would be easy, especially if they, turn out to be a good candidate. Speaking from personal experience, as my husband also did this same similar program, I know it was very helpful to have him go through that, and for us to be able to have some, a wherewithal to get through the financial aspect of being in school and defer some of those costs while he was doing that. So I like the program, but budget, it's not in the budget, so where would we
I was waiting
take
on
that
my
from?
queue up.
I always have to ask, so where are we getting that money from?
So we have had some law enforcement that have left. I really never combine labor benefits with the actual budget.
Oh, that makes sense.
So there's going to be some savings in some areas, but not everything. We are starting a new deputy on Monday. So we've had some vacancies, and I'm going to say there's going to be some room in there. However, I can't say that for sure it's going to be 100% covered by what's available in the marshal's office.
So if we have to go over that amount, like say it doesn't quite stick in that budget, where would we pull that
It's
money
all
from?
in the general fund.
Thank you.
So that would be, Parks, marshal's office, and admin is all in the general fund. So in the general fund as a whole, you have some room.
We have a little wiggle room.
Is there any comment or questions from the board, or? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to fund the tuition and equipment for an academy candidate that will agree to the terms of the agreement for law enforcement.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Aw.
Yay.
Trustee Dallison.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Luke.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro. And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, we have quite the slate of meetings coming up, meetings and events.
Yes, we do. The RHA, I guess, is at Ignacio. We just got the wrong agenda here, but we'll get that corrected, I hope. Planning Commission is next Tuesday.
I'll be attending that meeting. I don't know if any other board members are going to that.
Oh, I'll be attending that meeting.
Thought so.
It's good to know. So we'll just make sure that on the agenda, Nicole, for your benefit, just put just something at the bottom that the Board of Trustees may or may not attend, just so it's agendized. Because we also have the mayor there, so that makes 3.
Properly notice, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be noticed.
Perfect.
We do have a tree board meeting on August 11th at 5 o'clock. And then August 11th, also that evening, we have our Bayfield Zip Code Day. So I provided these little flyers regarding the movie that we're going to have for families or for anybody that would like to come to see the bad guys. We have some sponsors, and of course, the town is sponsoring most of this event. So anyway, your meeting on the 16th. We have a block party on the 18th. We have a budget session on the 22nd. Which is a Monday, and then August 30th, I believe it was still to be determined regarding a comp plan meeting with our members.
It's confirmed, we're scheduled for 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And that's what I have for meetings.
Okay, 6 o'clock. All right, do we have any board report updates? I've got Alliance tomorrow. If there are no other comments or updates,
Wow.
I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 7:28.
Wow.
Hey.
It was a record from the last year. I don't know about that, but you should have Chamber of Commerce. I am.
Ish. Ish.
Ish. No, not.
We're trying to hand it over.
No, we handed it off to Larry.
When do they meet?
So that's what we're trying to figure out. The next event there's going to be is October. I got to put the save the date
I
thing
didn't
up.
know that existed.
Hold on. It's
We just made it
October,
up.
Oh, this year?
October 13th
Yeah.
at the Moody's on Mill Street. That's going to be a membership meeting.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yep, ribbon cutting, and then there's gonna be a discussion on who would like to step up to be officers, be on the board, all of that.